Flexibility and being able to pivot is the name of the game. I mean, that's the path to survival.
What kind of challenges were you trying to solve?
It's all about the storytelling.
Projects and bins and sharing.
Everybody's looking for greater efficiency.
That really is what it's all about.
The industry is changing, and it's changing fast.
Hi, and welcome to Making the Media. I'm Craig Wilson, he's Ray Thompson, and we're here to guide you through what's happening in the world around news, broadcast, sports, and post-production. It's great to be back again, and let's get right to it, Ray. Who do we have on the show this time around?
Well, we have Hossein, who's on from Spectra Logic. Avid and Spectra Logic have a really long and very fruitful partnership that goes back decades, literally decades. Hossein's one of the great guys in the business. Anybody who knows him loves him. And the solution they've had that's available still for Media Central and Media Central production management, asset management, is still something that's in use in mission critical scenarios today. But the great news is they've added a panel for Media Composer, so now you can do what you used to have to do on sort of the enterprise systems, but now you can do it all in Media Composer. It's pretty exciting. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, working in post-production or in news, one of the big workflows is archive. It's that treasure trove of material that you just have sitting there waiting to be used. Now, it's actually something we've talked about before on Making the Media, so check out our previous podcast episodes. And again, one of the things I think, Hossein will talk about is that, archive can be much more than those thousands of hours that are sitting on spinning discs or tapes. Archive and restore and backup workflows are also part of day-to-day operations as well. But often those workflows to get stuff in and out can be a bit clunky. But the great thing, as you said, Ray, is that with this new panel in Media Composer, that's one of the problems that's now being solved. So let's hear now from Hossein and find out a bit more of his background in the business.
I'm responsible for Spectra Logic's business in media and entertainment and telecom. My background, basically, I come from the engineering side. I used to be a designer, but over the last couple of decades, I've been involved on the business side of things. So that includes not only the business itself, but also the technology and the strategy of go-to-market strategy, partnerships, and technology direction. So I'm privileged. It's fun because not only I see the business side, but also I get to be geeky on the technology side. So that makes it a lot more fun for me.
So thanks for that, Hossein. So for people who don't know, tell us a little bit about Spectra Logic and the kind of work and workflows that your company enables.
Our roots have always been in storage. We've developed in the past, but not only, more than anything, Spectra Logic is known for our archival storage, secondary and tertiary storage. While we are very well known for the archive, we used to also have backup application, archival applications. But over the last 10 or so years, we've shifted our business also to develop a lot more software. So it's not just the storage, but it's also the storage management applications to create basically an abstraction of storage. So from the application perspective, where the Avid, Interplay, and or Media Central and all are, they basically have a single point of truth for all the assets that we manage for them. So that makes the integration easier, and it makes the management easier, and the application or the users don't have to keep track of where the contents are. So we provide both hardware and software to better manage not only the storage, but also help manage the archive.
So we'll maybe come back to talk about some of the Media Central work a little bit later. But first of all, let's talk about some of the newer developments that you've had, and one of which, of course, is the panel within Media Composer. And let's focus on that for the next little while. So first of all, what kind of challenges were you trying to solve when you came up with the idea of having the panel directly inside of Media Composer itself?
So as you alluded to, we have our solutions that are tightly integrated with Media Central. But what we noticed in the industry, specifically in the Avid market, is that a lot of folks who do use the Media Composer, many of them do not have, for a variety of reasons, the Media Central PAM or MAM. So in such cases, it was difficult for them to manage their archive and manage or their storage. So in such cases, there are some applications that were not fully integrated with Media Composer. So it was the solutions available at the time were sort of clunky, disjointed, and it wasn't really intuitive. We had been going back and forth with Avid. We've been partners with Avid for many, many years, and we'd encourage Avid to allow us basically develop applications or solutions that are a little bit more integrated, so that it makes it easier for our joint mutual customers to better manage their media, not just files and objects, but the actual media itself, and make the workflow a little bit more intuitive. And because that will make it easier so that they can focus more on the storytelling side versus managing and administrating the storage or disjointed workflow. So it basically, what our intention with the panel was to make it easier for the creative teams and companies to manage their bins, manage their projects, manage their archives, and be able to search and find them much, much easier. And something that would be also affordable, so that those who do not necessarily have a fully sophisticated environment, that they still be able to manage their workflows better and their projects better.
So a lot of that work in post-production is that sort of classic work, isn't it? It's Media Composer, projects and bins and sharing, and working with Nexus shared storage. And that's really the market that this particular application is aimed at, isn't it?
Yes, it very much is. The sweet spot in the market is exactly is what you said. It's really the post-production. And we're seeing also some interest in the production side and on the early and upfront ingest part of that process. So a lot of the studios are taking a lot of interest in that part of the workflow as well too. Content coming right off the camera. How do you ingest it? How do you log it into the system? How do you protect it right off the bat? And how do you automate that whole process? Because that can be somewhat clunky. We've heard that from a lot of users. So with the technologies that we've developed, we can really automate that whole process through the post-production workflows. And that has proven to be a very useful tool.
One of the things I think as an editor, or just generally within a post-production environment, is that whole thing. You're constantly juggling storage, online storage. There's a finite amount of that. You might have a new project comes in. You need to work with the storage there. So you're then pushing material to and from the archive. And I know from personal experience, just trying to keep track of where everything is really kind of difficult. So in that kind of environment, there was always that challenge of managing the storage. And I wanted to make up another thing that you mentioned, which is really enabling teams to work more efficiently and effectively together.
That's really what it all comes down to, right? Because it's all about the storytelling. It's all about the resources to focus on that versus managing technology, managing the storage, managing technical aspects of the workflow. And that's what we've basically done. We're giving them tools to manage the media and what they're working on. It's not all, but by the way, it's not only just that. It's also to protect maybe the daily work that they've done. We see a lot of folks where maybe at the end of the day they just simply push it to the archive for protection. And we see folks who they want to push it to the archive and then restore it back into another bin of a different name so they can share it. So it sort of helps them in multiple ways, not dealing with technology, not dealing with files, but just managing their media and their bins and their daily work, focus on that. And also additional tools to bring content in and or to share content with others. So those are the kind of capabilities that they get out of it. And when you put it in their hand, then they do not have, even the administrative functions, you can revert those to the creative side. And those are the benefits that they get.
So it's really what you're trying to do is trying to take out some of the complexity, that that technical aspect, if you like, out of the job of the editor, and really simplify that whole process so they can focus on the creative part.
It is as simple as that. You basically have a tab for the panel, and if you open up the tab, you can basically select a band or select all bands, which would, which would constitute a project, and you basically say archive. And in the early setup, you can set up the policies where when you say the archive, it automatically move content maybe to a tier of storage or multiple tiers of storage, and it'll simply do that. And there are a lot of other capabilities in there where we do composition archiving. So anything archive, we don't necessarily re-archive everything. We archive only the portion of, let's say, composition that has changed. So we keep track of the changes, but we also keep track of different versions of the band. So you can rebuild any version of the media within a bin. You can go back and forth to whatever version you need. So it's quite intelligent from that perspective.
The panel in Media Composer, of course, is relatively new, but of course, Avid and Spectra Logic have worked together for a little bit of time, in fact, for a very long time. But can you tell us a little bit about the process of getting the panel done, and really why you thought it was important to have it in Media Composer?
Well, Media Composer, most all movies, documentaries, episodics, everything is basically done on Media Composer. It is the choice for making these stories, these movies, these episodics, and all that. So, to us, it has always been important to serve our mutual customers. So, we had asked Avid to allow us basically to do this. So when Avid basically decided to make the SDK available to us so they could make this thing, it really, really made us happy. And I do believe it has made a huge effect on the whole Avid community, basically. The openness, the sharing, because that allow the whole community basically to create tools for Avid environment to, many has created a variety of creative utilities and or tools make it easier for them. So it brings value to Avid, it brings value to us, but most importantly, it brings value to our mutual customers because they have greater sort of choices and options to focus on their storytelling versus, finding out how to deal with different workflows. It's been a really, really good thing. Avid was very, very supportive. They gave us SDK, they gave us the engineering support whenever we've needed it. We are in constant communication. There's been many cases where we have asked Avid for maybe certain extensions or changes to the SDK and all that, and Avid's been very open, very forthcoming, and they've done that. And I'm really, really glad when Avid decided to open up broadly because it's just greatly beneficial to everyone.
Yeah, one of the things at Avid, of course, is we do a lot, but one of the things you really talk well about is that Spectra Logic are really experts in this particular type of workflow. Archive is very much your thing. It's what you guys are specialists in, and there's always a connection there. But this enables that connection to be much stronger from a workflow perspective. It's a lot easier for the end user. So that partnership between Avid and Spectra Logic, you guys doing what you do best, us doing what we do best, that really is what it's all about.
It is great. And it's from the end user perspective also, if you look at it, they know by choosing Avid and or Spectra Logic that these are well-vetted solution that we've worked together, we've collaborated together. So it puts their mind at ease that once they go to that platform, that they have many choices to solve different aspects of their business needs, if you would. And that's a huge deal to both of us. And like you said, we all are good at one thing. We cannot be good at everything. So it basically makes it better for all of us.
One thing you mentioned right back at the start is that Avid and Spectra Logic have worked together for a long time. You've had a lot of integration with Interplay in the past and Media Central as it is now as well. So talk a little bit about some of the workflows there with things like Rio Broker and explain a little bit about what that enables really at that enterprise level.
Well, Media Composer is only one of the things that Avid offers, right? Avid also offers, as the whole world knows, Media Central PAM or Interplay PAM and Media Central MAM. And a lot of people, a lot of sophisticated environment use those very heavily to manage their production process and or just managing their assets. We have had our Rio Broker, which is a archival management platform to manage archive, and it's been fully integrated, and we collaborated with Avid to develop those connectors as well. And those are used and deployed already worldwide in many environments, from studios to massive broadcast networks to streaming platform to house of worship to sports and to sports networks and what have you. So it is a well established thing, and a lot of people use it. So we've had that, and we've been that close to Avid probably for 2 decades. But now with this Media Central panel, we basically completed our task of helping our mutual customers manage their archives better, whatever choice that they make, whether it is via Media Central or just Media Composer alone. For whatever reason, they now have a choice, and they have those options, which is great for our community.
One thing about the industry is, as you and I know, Hossein, is that things change. Change is very significant. Change is really fast these days. So, from Spectra Logic's perspective, what's your view of people looking at different storage, maybe looking at different tiers, looking at the cloud? What are Spectra Logic really looking at for the future?
So, boy, if there's one thing that is constant is change, right? Especially in our industry, because especially this industry, they were at the forefront of the whole cloud thing and cloud workflows and hybrid workflow. Now more and more hybrid workflows, because we're seeing a lot more repatriation projects where people are a lot smarter to use what aspects of what workflows work best on-prem, which workflows will work best in the cloud, or vice versa. But to go back to your broader question about change, the industry is changing, and it's changing fast. And one thing that we both have learned, I know at Avid, because we're very close, and I'm in constant communication with Avid team, but so are we, where we have to pivot as changes happen, because everybody is looking for greater efficiency, faster way of doing things, scaling things much easier, be able to adapt to different workflows and different technologies and all that. So from our perspective, software and glue logic is the path to that, because everything is getting commoditized, right? I mean, if you look at clouds, basically they're commoditizing every service, every application, or what have you. The storage itself is being commoditized, regardless whether it is NVMe or disk or tape or cloud-based or what have you. So what really matters is software, and how do you create and or provide platforms that can reshape and create enough abstraction so you can adapt to the working workflow changes in this environment. That's how we're looking at it. That's why we, and I know you guys are changing as well too with a lot of your applications, is we put more and more focus on software than on hardware. You can almost say that, we develop tremendous amount of software that is oftentimes basically packaged in a box. But software is the path. And also, you got to consider a lot of new technologies that are coming in. You look at, the hybrid workflows, and you look at AI, the expectation of AIs, and you look at the expectations of our customers, so that what we jointly or individually offer is that they have a lot more intelligence to help guide the users how the system should be used in most efficient ways. Those are the kind of things that we're focusing on, to inject more intelligence, more analytics, and more flexibility, more glue logic, so that we can adhere to the need of the customer. Yes, they all use the same similar functions and all that, but they all do it just a little bit different. They bespoke it for their own environment. So being able to adhere that and meet those needs, that's where we are putting a lot of focus on. Flexibility and being able to pivot is the name of the game. I mean, that's the path to survival, really, these days, with everything that is happening in the industry. And I think we can all attest to that.
Great chat with Hossein there, Craig. and really insightful to get his views on the current market and where these types of solutions are heading.
Yeah, I mean, I think that whole debate about cloud and hybrid workflow is definitely one that's going to feature a lot in the coming months and years as the industry continues to evolve. And no doubt, Ray, we will be talking about it here too.
Definitely. And in fact, if you want to find out more about cloud workflows with Avid, then check out the QR code on the screen now, or look at the show notes for links around the work that we've been doing with cloud providers like AWS and Azure. Craig, what's up next for us?
So Ray, next time around, we are going to be talking technology strategy and getting the thoughts of Avid's Chief Technology Officer, Tom Sharma. Here is a quick glimpse.
We don't build technology in a vacuum.
The importance is the creativity of the person who's sitting in and working with the machine.
I set the technology vision. How do we reduce friction and unlock creativity in the next generation of workflows?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, isn't it?
APIs are absolutely critical to our strategy and AI-driven workflows of tomorrow.
So what are we going to be talking about? Cloud, newsroom, story-centric, hybrid, all that kind of stuff.
It's all of that stuff and much more. You definitely want to check it out.
Great. Well, that's all for us for now. Thanks again to Hossein, one of the great guys in the business, once again. And thank you, Craig, and thanks to the team behind the scenes. But we would not be here if it was not for you listening and watching. So many thanks to all of you as well. And we're done. And until next time, join us for more Making of the Media.